Vaccine, vaccine, vaccine. That is what is top of the mind everywhere around the world and across India. There are so many questions and so much expectation as well as doubts. Does it do this? Will this happen? What if and what not? And all that is quite understandable because humanity right now stands at the cusp of great hope. And to answer some of the questions, if not all, we present Vaccine FAQ. So let us begin with the topmost questions at this point in time. Everybody must be wondering who will get the vaccine. Before we answer that, I must tell you that it is voluntary. Right now, it is voluntary, so nobody is forcing anybody to get the vaccine. Now, in the first phase, from 16th, India is vaccinating the frontline workers, the health workers who are out there. Next will come citizens above 50 years of age. The next question that comes to mind is, okay, vaccination is fine, but how many doses? 2 doses. And not like you have 1 dose today and another dose tomorrow. You have to have a 28-day gap between the 2 doses. Now, there are 2 vaccines. So can you choose the vaccine that you want? No, sorry. It has been decided that this area will get this vaccine, so it depends on where you are, and you will get that vaccine in both doses. What is the cost? Well, Covishield will cost rupees 210 per dose. Covaxin will cost around rupees 309 per dose. Now, why is there a difference in cost between vaccines? Manufacturers are different, so scale of production is different, technology used is different. So Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is manufactured by SII, Serum Institute of India, and it's a viral vector vaccine. Now, Bharat Biotech's vaccine is inactivated vaccine. You might think, what vaccine will you get? I answered that, any one of the 2, depending on which city, which location you are in. Somebody might be wondering, can you buy the vaccine privately? Well, at this moment, no. You cannot buy the vaccine privately. Great. Now that we have answered that lot of questions, let us take a look at the next series of questions on how does the vaccine leave the manufacturing lab, the factories where it's being made, and travel, and how will you, the individual, get it? Let's hand the white background over to Preeti Chaudhary because she has the answers.
How will the vaccine actually reach you? 3 phases it's divided in. So from manufacturer, the vaccine now will be transported through air towards primary vaccine stores. Now these stores are large places where the vaccine is to be stored and which are temperature controlled, which is extremely important. The 4 stores are located in Karnal, Mumbai, Chennai and Kolkata. Then in refrigerated vans, they are going to be carried through to state vaccine centers. Once again, I can't stress enough when I talk about refrigerated vans because each vaccine has a different temperature it needs to be stored in, and one cannot meddle in that. There are about 37 state vaccine stores in this country. They store vaccines in bulk and distribute it further. From there, these refrigerated vans will take vaccines to district vaccine centers. This is how it's going to be dispersed point by point. From the district centers, the vaccines will be transported to the primary health centers. So phase 1 is about transportation. Viewers, this is going to be the biggest vaccination drive in the history of mankind, in India as well. So let's move on now to phase 2. Next, there would be a vaccine carriers where the vaccine is going to be carried to sub-center session site. It is a center, to break it down for you, where vaccinations will be finally administered. This is where, viewers, you've seen on your television screen multiple dry runs taking place. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The same place over here, registration will take place. This can happen online too or through, most importantly, the Co-Win app. Once your name is registered, you will be allocated a specific slot. Well, the fact that you have this app is there is no need to stand in queues. And finally, you will be vaccinated. Once again, phase 2 is all about identification and issuing of shots. All right, now comes phase 3, an extremely crucial phase. In phase 3, you will get an acknowledgement, an SMS on your telephone number, the number that you register through the CoWIN app, and a unique health ID is going to be created. A QR code-based digital certificate will be sent via the application to those who have been administered both doses of the coronavirus vaccine. Then there will be an AEFI. What does that mean? Adverse effects following immunization. Reporting, which means that if you have had an adverse reaction or an impact of the vaccine, that can and should be reported, is an inbuilt system. All this information will be available to the government and to you as well, as transparent as that. Conclusively, in phase 3, post-vaccination follow-up will also take place. This is the entire comprehensive system of the vaccination trial.
India begins vaccination with 2 candidates. One not made in India, but manufactured in India, and the other 100% Indian. That is what we have been told. So one is Covishield and the other is Covaxin. Let us see what these are. What is Covaxin? Now, it's a COVID-19 vaccine developed by Bharat Biotech along with ICMR. What is Covishield? COVID-19 vaccine again developed by Oxford University in association with AstraZeneca and manufactured by Serum Institute, India. Now, what other types of vaccines are there? These aren't the only 2. There are 63 vaccines across the world in clinical development, in some phase or the other. There are 173 vaccines across the world who are in preclinical development stage. And there are 16 vaccines across the world which are in the final stages of clinical development. We have been talking about vaccines for some time now. And in this show, Vaccine FAQ, we have been trying to answer questions that are top of mind. But what about the basic question? What is a vaccine? When was the first vaccine discovered? Well, here goes. The backgrounder, as we call it, of vaccines. Coincidentally, the world's first vaccine was developed because of another pandemic. A disease that took more than 200 years to get completely eradicated, and not before claiming millions of lives. In 1796, an English physician, Edward Jenner, developed a vaccine from a disease called cowpox, which was similar to smallpox but did not affect humans. He first inoculated a handful of his friends and neighbors with the smallpox virus and noticed that not a single one of them caught the smallpox. He coined a scientific term, variola vaccina, for smallpox, and the procedure as vaccination. A vaccine is no medicine to treat the disease. In fact, it is a mild form of the disease itself, injected into a person's body, training the immune system to fight against a disease it has not contracted before. And naturally, the COVID vaccines too contain some form of the novel coronavirus. The 2019 SARS-CoV-2 is part of a family of viruses named for the effect created by spike proteins on their cells, or capucines. It is how the outer layer of Sun's atmosphere corona, Latin for crown, appears during a total solar eclipse. And because of its spike proteins, the coronavirus attach to the cells much quicker and can almost hijack the body's cells to replicate itself. These viruses are sometimes capable of jumping species, but outside the body or a host, the virus is just a chemical. It becomes active and replicates itself only when it finds a host, unlike, say, bacteria, which thrive even without a living host. As soon as the virus started finding millions of hosts to thrive on, research and development began for a vaccine to combat it. It all started when scientists from China, where the virus first emerged, shared the genetic code of the virus with experts across the world on January 11th itself, and a hunt for the COVID vaccine had started. While various vaccines were in their research phase, the first safety trials began in March, around the same time when India went into lockdown and cases started to soar in the country. By mid-2020, various vaccine candidates were in the fray, at various stages of development. Now, developing a vaccine is a tedious and long process, and the fastest possible vaccine, till now, for mumps, was developed in a time frame of about 4 years. While Russia started human trials as early as June 2020, the apprehensions around the legitimacy of the trials didn't die down, even as Russians started getting themselves vaccinated. Apart from the Russian candidate, the Oxford University, with its commercial partner AstraZeneca, was also one of the first to get cracking on development. Both the Sputnik 5 and the Oxford's vaccine, named Covishield, work on a similar principle. These viral vector-based vaccines take the genetic code of the spike protein from the coronavirus and then put it into a harmless virus. In Oxford's case, it is a genetically engineered virus that causes common colds in chimpanzees, which does not infect humans. This cocktail of the two viruses is then injected into the patient. The vaccine then enters the cells and starts to produce coronavirus-like proteins, prompting the immune system to produce antibodies and killer T cells to destroy the infection. Since the body has learnt about a spike protein-like virus, if the patient encounters coronavirus again, the antibodies are triggered automatically to fight it out, not letting the virus enough time to spread. When a disease exists in a specific region, it is endemic. When a disease spreads throughout a geographical region, it's an epidemic. But when a disease spreads across countries and continents, then it is a pandemic. So, in this case, in this pandemic, while India is vaccinating against COVID-19, what is the scene everywhere else in the world? What is the status of vaccination around the world? Here goes. 38 countries, not just India, 38 countries have started vaccination. Which country is using which vaccine? Well, Russia and Argentina are using Sputnik 5. UAE and China are using Sinopharm, and 34 countries, including the US and the UK, are using the Pfizer biotech. 24 countries are using Moderna along with Pfizer biotech. Now, who wants Indian manufactured vaccines? That's another question, because India is not just manufacturing for India, it is manufacturing for everybody else who wants it, depending on the capacity. So there are orders from Sri Lanka, Brazil, Bhutan, and now there's even talk that possibly other countries might be wanting it, but those orders aren't firm yet. All right, we have tried to provide some answers to questions that are obviously there in everybody's mind. But remember, information is also a vaccine. If you have the facts, it is half the battle won. For the other half, the vaccine injections have begun to roll out. Bide your turn and keep on top of credible information. This virus too shall pass.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.